and Senator Cruz and Senator Cornyn. Thank you very much, Senator Cornyn, for being here. We appreciate it. I know it was hard to get here for both of you. You were trapped in various locations, but we appreciate you both being here. I want to thank my staff, my cabinet. We have quite a few of our cabinet here. You know, Ben Carson, obviously, from HUD, and Tom Price and Linda McMahon, small business, which is now big business, because you're going to be, when you add them all up, you're going to be helping a lot of the people in Texas and doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Linda. But we have had a tremendous group of folks. Our acting director, Elaine, thank you very much for the job you've done. And a man who's really become very famous on television over the last couple of days, Mr. Long. We appreciate it very much. You have been just outstanding. And I can tell you that my folks just telling me how great your representatives have been in working together. It's a real team, and we want to do it better than ever before. We want to be looked at in 5 years and 10 years from now as this is the way to do it. This was of epic proportion. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And I just want to say that working with the governor and his entire team has been an honor for us. So, Governor, again, thank you very much. And we won't say congratulations. We don't want to do that. You know, we don't want to congratulate. We'll congratulate each other when it's all finished. But you have been terrific, really terrific. Great honor. And you've been my friend too for a long time. And with that, maybe you could say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the whole community is coming together. You know, right here where the brunt of the Category 4 hurricane winds came in just north of Corpus Christi, we're already starting to affect recovery. Recovery is a slow process, but rest assured that we're doing everything we can to unify our efforts down to support, you know, the local responders, the first responders that we have here. Yesterday I put eyes on the ground down in Rockport. We already have points of distribution flowing. We're working in conjunction with the Governor's National Guard, where FEMA's supplying meals and water, and the National Guard is helping to run those distribution points. That's how this system works. While all eyes are on Houston, and so are mine, we've got a long way to go. We're going to have to set up expectations of the citizens, and we're going to have to continue a unified effort down to help the state of Texas ultimately recover. So very quickly, the objectives stay the same. The event, unfortunately, to the north of us is not over. We're still in a life-saving, life-sustaining mission. We're very aware of the issues at the convention center, but let me be clear, this is not the Superdome. The convention center, we are sustaining food. They have food. We're in security. I have an incident management team inside the city of Houston as we speak, and more people are being moved to shelters to stabilize the situation. The next thing is that we're pushing commodities. Once the water goes down, we'll continue to push not only commodities, but also help to get people registered in the system to receive assistance from all of us. You know, assistance doesn't just come from FEMA. It comes from many organizations who are represented here today by Secretary Price, Secretary Carson, and others. The next thing is that we're looking at, you know, power restoration. We're maintaining security. You know, Ms. Duke, you know, mobilize the Homeland Security Surge Capacity Force. With that comes law enforcement to make sure that we're overcoming and anticipating any security needs that we have. And then also with Secretary Price over here, we're working with not only the governor's disaster medical teams, but we're also sending federal disaster medical teams in, not only to the convention center today, there's already some on site, but there's going to be multiple areas, not only for crisis counseling, but also to make sure that we're meeting access and functional needs. The access is a challenge to getting all of the supplies in. Once the roadway systems come out, we've amassed quite the federal force to be able to support the local and state efforts. For example, the governor pulls 12,000 National Guard troops in. We're pulling units out of Fort Hood as the federal government, federal DOD forces are coming in as well. We pulled several hundred trucks and staff just from assets right here in the state of Texas, and that's how the system works. This recovery is going to be frustrating. We're going to be here with you to help you guide through it. It's going to be tough to navigate all of the programs that come available, but we're here to help. So with that, I'd like to pass it along to our friends at the Coast Guard.
Mr. President, good afternoon, sir. This is where your Coast Guard serves at its best. we've got a bias for action. We are here in the state of Texas to support the state of Texas, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the lead federal agency. Sir, we have pulled Coast Guard men and women from across the country, capabilities, helicopters, fixed wing, response, incident management specialists, and they're on deck, sir, in Texas here getting after the task at hand. I'd be remiss, sir, to not tell you that as you look, obviously the landfall here, phase 1 was down here. We've been out, we've seen the effects here, and our local folks here, our County men will speak to you more about that. Up in Houston, we are all in with the challenge there. We brought everything to the fight. The weather for the next couple of days is going to remain challenging. We'll probably see average rainfalls for the year, 50 inches, 4 weeks in. And I don't think we know what that looks like, sir, but I can tell you, the Coast Guard, Department of Homeland Security team with the DOD forces, National Guard. I spent Sunday and Monday with the governor at different locations. We are seamlessly lashed up with the state. We are getting better at every day. It is a problem of catastrophic proportions, sir. I don't think we've done before, but I can tell you that we are all in and we're aligned, and I'm very encouraged, sir, about how this thing is going to go forward, just in terms of cooperation. With this, sir, I'd just like to give Captain Tony Hahn a couple moments here. He's locally, give you a perspective on what life has been here. Yes, sir, this building.
Good morning, Mr. President. Captain Tony Hahn, the Sector Commander here at Sector Corpus Christi, and also the Incident Commander for our Unified Command. Our Unified Command comprises over 150 federal, state, and local agencies, and we also bring industry partners in there so we can make sure we're covering all our bases as we get the port open. So I want to walk through a timeline of our activities that we've done over the course of Hurricane Harvey, just to let you know where we're at. So on Tuesday, the storm shifted and became a hurricane. Our job is to really assess the port and see what we need to do to get assets out of there. And that's what we started doing on Wednesday. We started making preparations. We locked down facilities. We get assets, deep draft vessels out to sea so they don't damage the port conditions. Thursday, we moved to evacuating all our forces. We pushed our forces out of harm's way and our people so we can come back in after the storm to help, as soon as we can. On Friday, we moved our boats and aircraft away from the storm so they could immediately respond. So now Harvey was upgraded to Category 4 hurricane. Our team was bunkered down in Robstown, Texas. We do a continuity of operations in Robstown, about 20 miles or so from here. We've practiced that many times, so we're ready to do that. When Harvey made landfall, several ships that were moored in Corpus Christi broke their moorings, and mariners in distress were calling us for help. At that point, we had to wait till the parameters changed, but we sent our helicopters north, and we saved 19 mariners' lives that night. Later on Saturday morning, we began our port assessments, and the conditions weren't good for getting boats on the water, but with our overflights and among the damage, we noted a grounded drill ship at the front of the Corpus Christi channel, so that's a major challenge for us. We continued overflights to respond to search and rescue calls on Saturday, and the weather conditions wouldn't allow us to really get on the water for us to try and get the port open, but we're working on that. So Sunday, now the storm shifted to up to Houston, and so we surged all our search and rescue resources out of Alice, Texas, up to Houston, and we're helping every way we can with that effort by surging resources. We're using our fixed wing assets down here to run logistics run all over the state to make sure that the operational commanders in Houston are getting what they need. Additionally, we brought our boats up from the south so we can start our operational activities here now that the storm's gone. So Monday, we started our water operation with our partners. It's a huge emphasis for getting the port open for commerce and all the activities we do with the port. So our partners at the Army Corps of Engineers began their surveys of the channel, checking for shoaling and obstructions. And our ACE navigation team started their evaluations of marking the water with all the buoys and the channel markers, just to make sure when we open the port it's safe. So far we found over 180 grounded vessels. Of those, our major concern is that large drill ship that's at the mouth of the Corpus Christi channel. Last night the tide came up, winds came out of the bands from the storm, and it actually raised itself and drifted over the other side of the channel. So salvaging that is a big priority for us. Additionally, we're working with the Texas General Land Office on all the pollution activities. So far, the good news is we've not seen anything major in terms of pollution response or pollution releases. So to close, we're about 1/3 we're done with our channel surveys with the Army Corps. Once we complete the survey and salvage the grounded ship, we'll be in a good position to open the port. Right now, our biggest challenge right now is potential shoaling, and that'll require dredging operations. So we're really looking at this. And with that, Mr. President,
well, I want to tell you, and I can speak for the governor because we spoke about it, we are very proud of the Coast Guard, the job they've done, the lives they've saved. We're very, very proud of you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, it's about a couple thousand rescues a day rolled up with everybody everything else, and this economic issue in the ports, we are in with the Border Protection Agency, we're in with the facilities owners, the pilots on the waterways. The conditions right now are not amenable to getting the ports open. We recognize that's a national priority, and we will keep that and collectively get to that right answer as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Mr. President, at this time, before the press pulls out, there's the information that I'd like to share in regards to how citizens can get involved. So here again, it's the whole community. Neighbor helping neighbor is going to be needed in helping Texas overcome. So very quickly, if you would like to register for assistance underneath the governor's declared counties, there's 18 declared counties for individual assistance underneath the President's disaster declaration. That's disasterassistance.org. That puts in, disasterassistance.gov. I apologize. Disasterassistance.gov. That's the FEMA Individual Assistance Center system. There's also ways, if you're looking to volunteer, nvoad.org, nvoad.org. There's also within the state of Texas, onestarfoundation.org. There's also, and we'll leave it at that, or redcross.org as well. So thank you, and at this time, this concludes the press briefing.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And there you have the end of the press briefing there. You saw President Trump has arrived in southeastern Texas, some of the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Harvey. He's there getting a briefing from local and federal state officials who are coordinating the very much ongoing response, of course, to help the thousands, many thousands who are still impacted there. Let's go live now to our colleague Clayton Sandell, who is in Houston right now covering the effects of Hurricane Harvey on the ground. Clayton, we heard there from the president and from others coordinating the response on the ground about the extensive network of people working together to try to help folks who are impacted there. What are you seeing on the ground in Houston?
It is an extensive network of first responders, but the thing that has really impressed us and has really blown us away in this whole effort is the number of citizens who have come out to help their fellow neighbors. I was driving down one of the few still open portions of I-10 this morning, and there was a huge line of boats that were all headed toward downtown Houston. And there were a couple of Texas game warden boats in there, but they were mostly, the vast majority were just regular citizens in T-shirts.
nvoad.org, nvoad.org. There's also within the state of Texas, onestarfoundation.org. There's also, and we'll leave it at that, or redcross.org as well. So thank you, and at this time, this concludes the press briefing. Thank you very much.
All right, that appears to be the end of this press briefing. You could see an awful lot of people sitting at that long table there, really anchored by the president and first lady, and of course Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas. And we heard just a little bit there from the FEMA director, who is going to have to carry a heavy load here. This is the first major disaster of his career. Oh, not of his career,
and of the Trump administration as well.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. Eric joining us now.
Good to be here.
You've had quite a few days yourself. You were unable to even get out of your house.
Yeah, just, so many other people are in much dire situations than I was. But yeah, I was just like many people trying to make it into work on the road for 4 hours, turning around, trying to find an entrance into the city was just hard. I'm in the suburbs on a beltway. So anyway, finally made it in today. It took a while, but the roads are treacherous. I would not advise getting out there because you are detouring every time, having exit freeways and find roads that aren't flooded. So it's pretty bad out there, as obviously everyone can see from the broadcast coverage we've been doing nonstop for like 4 days now.
So I know sometimes it feels like we're lecturing you, but trust us, with all of our crews out there and even our essential personnel, as the mayor would refer to us, it's very difficult to get around, and we just want to kind of wait until things are a whole lot safer. I was just mentioning the head of FEMA, Brock Long is his name. He just took over a couple of months ago, but he's got a lot of experience. He used to be emergency management director even in Alabama during a couple of major storms there in the BP oil spill. So obviously this is going to be a huge hurdle for him to deal with.
Yes, this is a big, huge test, but we also want to take you now to this live picture. This is live from Corpus Christi, Texas. We've got where President Trump obviously landed earlier, and you see a lot of support. This is really calming fears when you see the president coming to an area of disaster after Hurricane Harvey hit there, along with the Rockport area. So they know relief is on the way, and they know aid is on the way.
That's absolutely true. And you see the usual real contingent of press getting there into their vans, as well as all those folks lining the roads. And we know that Corpus Christi has been hit very hard. You mentioned Rockport, also Port Aransas, areas around there. And he's really going to take a chance to sort of tour some of the less populated areas. Obviously, Houston, one of the biggest cities hit, and perhaps one of the biggest cities hit ever with a storm of this magnitude.
This has devastated the entire Texas coast.
Right.
I mean, and it could even devastate some of the Louisiana coast at this point, now moving that way. So it's a lot to cover, but we do want to stay here local as well. I know we have Eyewitness News reporter Stephen Romo live right now. And Stephen, we can see those rescue boats continuing to go out right there. What's the latest?
Yeah, guys, we're at a neighborhood called Canyon Gate. It's in Cinco Ranch. You can see this group of guys. They're not law enforcement personnel. They are regular people who decided to come and help out. They just picked up these two women, and they are getting them off the boat, trying to get them back to dry land. The streets here are rivers. That's why they're able to use boats like this right now. You can see all the people that have come together to help. It is one of the bright spots in all this. You can see them carrying these people literally on their backs right now to get them to safety. These guys have continued to walk the boat out. Some of the water is not deep enough necessarily to use the motor, so they're pushing this boat, walking it back, and saving people. We've got these big trucks over here as well that are coming through because regular vehicles aren't able to make it. It's one of the areas that got bad in the past 24 hours, like so many other areas have. And we had a little bit of a break from the rain, but it's picking up right now. But it's not seeming to deter anyone. They're still out here rescuing people. They keep making rounds back into this neighborhood. We've had people flag us down and tell us that they need some help. They need some assistance. You can see people unloading supplies over here. There's so many people getting off. They're just able to carry what they have. They're getting off these vehicles and going to shelter, and they don't have anything with them, water, food, or any supplies. So they are trying to restock them right now. It's inspiring to see all these people coming out to help, especially because they're not paid to do this. They're just coming out and doing the right thing. Would you mind telling us what brings you out here? Why are you helping people?
There just wasn't a whole lot more important going on in Austin, to be honest with you. 6th Street's fun and all that, but we just kind of saw what was going on, and we had the boat, and we knew we could make the drive with our trucks and stuff, so we just decided to come.
What have you seen whenever people I'm sure they're pretty appreciative when they get rescued?
Oh, yeah. I think more shocked than anything. You know, I mean, you'll see the look on a lot of their faces, and I think a lot of people over there thought that the water wasn't going to get as bad as it was. You can kind of just see it's almost just a look of just total, I don't know, confusion more than anything. But yeah, certainly everyone's appreciative, and we're happy to do it. You know, it's nothing really off our back to come out and do it. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's crazy to see it, and it definitely makes you think twice about taking this type of weather seriously. So
absolutely, so many people wanted to stay in their homes. Of course, we see that time and again. You want to stay at your house. You don't want to leave in case of emergency. You want to make sure everything's okay. But we're very thankful for people who've come in this case from Austin, and come all the way here to help out. We've seen people come from all over the state and all over the country to help out these people. And there are many more people in this neighborhood that are going to be rescued. We're riding along with them as they save some people, and we'll bring you those coming up in just a little bit, guys.
Oh, Stephen, thanks a lot. Well, you know, you tip your hat to those kind of people that just come in from everywhere. As Stephen was talking to that guy from Austin, driving in just because they want to help, in true Texan spirit right there.
Well, as he says, there wasn't a whole lot happening in Austin, he says, on 6th Street, so he decided to come in. But we appreciate his good nature and the fact that he came such a long distance. Well, Maya Shea is in an area that we've been watching all morning that has been hit especially hard, and that is Baytown. So we want to go to her live right now. And boy, yeah, the water is incredibly high behind you, Maya.
Yeah, we're on the west side of the creek, the bayou, and this is some part of a street. We're behind a Walgreens, 146, and that's on the other side of Cedar Bayou. And here's all these volunteers are out here trying to rescue people. There are, I'm told, hundreds of people trapped on the other side, on the east side of the bayou. I'll tell you, we actually drove to the east side of the bayou early this morning. As soon as we got over there, we turned around and got back because the water was rising so fast. They just rescued a like a dozen people, elderly folks coming in. We just saw 3 or 4 more boats, and the current is so strong here. The bayou here, it's a challenge for these boats to go across. They're trying to go across, we understand, at the West Chambers County Annex. There's a couple hundred people there. And we have a lady here. I want to talk to her. And I know, let's try to get through this without crying.
I'm okay.
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 Tell me who I know you've been helping. I saw you take a couple of old ladies off, senior folks in the wheelchairs, but who are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for my brother and my sister-in-law and his kids and my sister and her baby.
And where are they?
They're in the annex building.
And you were telling me there's a lot of people at the annex?
When I talked to my brother, he said there's people there. They don't have any food, any water, and they're starting to get flooded, and there's like no way out.
Are these folks trying to go over to the annex?
Yes.
Or they're going to school right now, right?
Well, my husband's trying to get to my brother now, because at first we were just trying to help everybody out, but he was ready to come out and just go home because we've been here since 6 this morning. But now that he knows my brother's out there, he's trying to find a way to him.
How dangerous? Here, let's turn around so people can see the water, because you were telling me about wading through and trying to get through the water. How dangerous is the work out here?
Well, we tried to cross the bridge to see maybe how far we could go to get, like, I don't know, paddle boats, something to get those people out. But I mean, the current took us, so we just turned back. We turned back around.
And all of these are just volunteers. They just started coming at like 6 o'clock this morning.
And our husband with our kids and with towels and blankets, and then we did the first rescue with some kids, a lot of kids, and then people just started coming. I mean, people just started showing up with their boats and then dropping off blankets and dropping off food and drinks, and everybody just came together.
It's a hard situation because the good news is people are coming together, but man, I mean, to know that there's hundreds of people on the other side. I know Jeff Ealing was on the other side a couple hours ago, but since then it's now impassable. You cannot get through. Very, very dangerous. And the winds picked up, the rains picked up. We know that the Goose Creek ISD does have buses here. It's about a football field length away from where we are, the other direction on the other side of this Walgreens, which is sort of a staging area because it's just simply built up. Once they get on those buses, they will then go to some of the local schools, elementary schools on the west side. If you have folks across the bayou on the east side, just tell them. I think they're gathering. The lady here said, of course, they're gathering at the Chambers Annex, but also some of the other schools there. So some of the public buildings on the east side of Baytown, people are gathering, and then those are kind of staging points where volunteers are going literally across where very swift current, picking people up and bringing them back. But it's a developing situation. People are worried. People are scared. People are not sure how they're going to get hundreds and hundreds of people here out, but they're trying their darndest. A couple of people just left to go to the elementary school, a couple of boats about 10 minutes ago. They're not back yet. We are hoping that they'll come back soon with some rescued folks. We, of course, will keep you updated. You guys?
All right, Maya. Well, I mean, just another picture. At this point, we're seeing rescues virtually taking place in every part of Houston and the greater Houston area. I mean, this is Baytown. We've seen rescues taking place in Kingwood, on the far west side, out there at I-10 and Barker Cypress, and of course, even south in Brazoria County as well, and Fort Bend County. So,
and staggering amounts of water in places that have never flooded before, and people who are caught completely off guard, who thought there's no way this is going to happen here, and right now here is just about everywhere. We want to go back to Travis at this point. We haven't had a chance to talk to him in a few minutes, and you've got a significant update at this point.
I do. We've got 2 new river updates to let you know that are now going to go to record levels. The first here is the West Fork of the San Jacinto River near Humble. It has blown past the record from October 1994, which was at 67.3 feet. It's now at almost 69 feet and expected to crest near that level later on today, and then it'll be a slow descent as we head through the weekend. That's the West Fork of the San Jacinto River in Humble. As we've been saying over the past several days, what we are experiencing is unprecedented, and so we're entering into uncharted territory with some of these watersheds. We just don't know what the water is going to do at these levels because we've never experienced anything before, and so we just need to pay close attention to what's happening there and listen to your emergency management officials if any of you are called to evacuate, if you're even able to at this point in some of these areas. So I have a feeling we're going to see some pretty big downstream. We'll probably see some levels that we haven't experienced as well. That's kind of the trend that's been going here with the San Jacinto River Basin. Looking to Liberty right now, we have a new record crest forecast at the Trinity River in Liberty. So folks out east have been asking what's going on here. Well, it is rising, and it should rise about another 1.5 feet to a new record crest on Friday. So it's a very slow rise, very wide floodplain there. But again, a new record crest, also besting the record that was set in October of 1994. So we're basically seeing these events that we don't see very often, but they're all happening at the same time in basically every single one of our watersheds. Now, here's a look at where you can get some of this information for yourself from all the different rivers and even a few of the bayous and creeks over Harris County. This image comes from the West Gulf River Forecast Center. They're a division of NOAA and the National Weather Service. And here you go. You can get this information at this website, www.weather.gov/WGRFC. WGRFC, which stands for West Gulf River Forecast Center. And where you see these purple dots on the map, when you first pull it up, each one of those is a location that you can click or tap on and get information, a hydrograph like I just showed you that shows the water level, what it's done, and what it's expected to do next for all these different sites. And when you see the purple dots, that indicates that the watershed that runs, or whatever waterway runs through there, is at a record level or forecast to reach a record level. I'm sorry, a major level, but many of them are at record levels. So there are a few creeks and bayous that are available for forecast as well. Most of what we have to offer you in terms of creeks and bayous in Harris County isn't predictions, it's just what has happened, how much rain has fallen, and what the water level has done in response. There are, though, a few key areas that the West Gulf River Forecast Center does provide a few forecasts for. So go there if you want more information. Like I just showed you earlier, the good news about the Brazos River, that the record crest is going to be a little less of a record crest, but it's still a record crest. This is our GO-16 satellite, and it's visible satellite showing a picture from outer space. This is the circulation of Harvey. Drier air has made its way into part of Harvey, leaving the center exposed, but along the northern edge of the center and north of there, we've got some torrential downpours that have popped up along the upper Texas coastline, and it really looks like here between around Galveston Bay into the Texas-Louisiana state line is where we're going to see the most significant rains fall today. Zooming down a little closer, you can see that the almost eye-like feature, this center of circulation, is getting a little more stretched out, and Harvey is finally picking up the speed a little bit. Instead of 3 miles per hour to the northeast, it's now moving at 5 miles per hour to the northeast, and expected to move in a north-northeasterly or northeast direction toward the state line. So Harvey's rains will be coming to an end later on this week. For many of us, it'll be tomorrow, and by Thursday, all of us are done with the rains. But so much rain has fallen, the impacts will continue to be felt, and many of you that have not flooded downstream from these major watersheds are going to flood like you've done in years past, but it's going to be unprecedented because the amount of water coming through has just not been observed in modern times. This is the radar imagery. You look around the I-45 corridor, areas to the west, we've got the light rain for the most part, and it's tapered off once you get west of Harris County. There's hardly any rain falling once you head back towards San Antonio. And then if you look off towards the south, the coast, the east, you're looking at some very heavy persistent rains. So this is where we could see that zone of 5 to 10 additional inches of rain. I think we could see some pockets that exceed a foot of additional rains today and tonight alone. One of those spots is going to be Galveston Island. Another is going to be the Bolivar Peninsula all the way into High Island, where a flash flood warning is in effect until 3 p.m. These red bands that you see, that's rain that's coming down at about 2 to almost 3 inches per hour. And so you do the math. If it sticks there long enough, you're going to get some very hefty accumulations. Another flash flood warning is in effect for Chambers and Liberty counties until 3:30 p.m. And we earlier had a flash flood emergency that was out for Beaumont, Sabine Pass. I think that might still be at emergency level. It also includes Orange County and Hardin County. And so we're seeing just right aimed at our part of the state, more torrential downpours. Now, could these rains spread back westward? The intense ones, I don't think so, but I do think we will continue to see some of the moisture over here generate some light pockets of rain, light areas of rain across Houston and Harris County for the next several hours. So we are still looking at a decent amount of rain. 5 to 10 inches widespread in the zone between Galveston Bay into southwest Louisiana. Then look at the gradient, how quickly the accumulations drop off from about 4 inches on the east side of Houston and Harris County. This is today and tonight, to 1 inch or less once you get it west of Houston and Harris County. Then as we get into, let's see, it's going to be into tomorrow. This is Wednesday now. We are looking at 4 to 7 inches still possible up here in this part of the state. As Harvey circulation moves to the northeast, we'll see some intense rain bands on the northern and northwest side, but from Houston, areas southwestern, an inch or less. And then by Thursday, here's something we'll all be celebrating, the end of the rains. But the danger is going to remain for days and days and days because of all the rain that has fallen upstream, working its way downstream. So we're expecting lots of crests at very high levels, some in many cases unprecedented levels in the days ahead. So we're going to keep updating you on all the bayous, creeks, and rivers as best as we can. Later on, we'll do another creek and bayou update looking across Harris County as we're seeing some improvements in some watersheds. But as we've been showing you in Baytown and over toward Mont Belvieu along the Cedar Bayou watershed, we're still seeing some rises in a few spots. Back to you.
Now, Travis, are we going to get a break at all in the rain tonight at all? I know yesterday it just went on nonstop.
Yeah, some of us are. You know, we've got a large area that we're talking about, but those generally speaking, east of I-45, you can expect more rains tonight. West of I-45, you're going to have a better chance of being dry or only picking up maybe 1/10 of an inch of rain. That's as a very general dividing line right there.
And Travis, I know I was asking you before we got to you about some of the lake levels as well. I know you had limited information on Lake Houston, but I know we're getting a lot of calls about what Lake Houston is doing, because as you showed, that West Fork of the San Jacinto River, that feeds into Lake Houston. And so at this point, I know full level is at 41 feet. We're over that, about 52 feet, 11 feet over. But at this point, there's no information of flooding. I know I've been in contact with some people there in neighborhoods around Lake Houston, sending me some pictures as well. So at this point, it's okay for the most part.
But it's uncharted territory once again. We just have never experienced anything like this. Well, for those of you who live around there, if you remember the October '94 floods, this is exceeding that threshold so far everywhere along that watershed. So I expect that's going to happen downstream as well around Lake Houston and then the San Jacinto River, which then feeds into Galveston Bay. So we just, a lot of things we're going to just can't wrap our minds around right now. We're going to witness over the next few days, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, and what we should say to people is if you know of an area in particular that is having a lot of problems, let us know. Tweet to us, Facebook us. We're looking for everything on social media. It's how we're discovering what's going on out there, because there are many areas we just can't get to.
That's right. That's right. And I know, you know, again, back to the Lake Houston thing, I'm getting some texts and stuff of pictures, and it's rising, no question about it, which we can understand that it is. But the pictures I'm getting out of Lake Houston show it's still within its banks, especially in some of the spillways right there. So right now, it's okay, but obviously it's got to be monitored. But we're okay right now.
Well, and we're all feeling a lot of anxiety. As Travis says, none of us has ever seen anything like this before, and you don't know, am I going to be asked to evacuate within an hour, as we've seen in many neighborhoods. So we understand your anxiety, and we appreciate it, and we're going to do our very best to keep you informed. And speaking of which, we want to head to another area right now.
But we've also got this
my goodness,
talking to social media, which has also been a huge help. This is going to be from Sheriff Robert Chody right here, and you know, this is basically a sign of the times, what we're dealing with right now. You can see this, it says total loss our team is seeing is indescribable. People pitching tents right here on roofs. They're obviously waiting to be rescued at this point, but no telling, everybody's doing the best they can, so all they can do is, and I kind of applaud them from what they are doing. Yeah, and this may be the only safe place, for instance, to sleep or get some rest, because if their homes are full, and judging from that picture, you can see there's a lot of water inside. In a one-story facility, you really have nowhere to go but up, and in this case, up would be on your roof. So you can certainly understand why they chose that. And we do want to note this Sheriff Robert Chody is out of Williamson County right there, sending us that picture via social media. And now,
I think we're going to head on over to Marla Carter. Marla is, we've been talking to her throughout the morning, ITID and Barker Cypress, and you are on a boat again, I see, and I can see all those vehicles behind you that are nearly covered.
Yeah, we are at an apartment complex here, and we've been through neighborhoods, we've been through apartment complexes, just seeing if there's anybody here that needs rescuing. They've evacuated a lot of people in this area, but we're told 2,100 homes affected by the attics and 700 homes affected by the Barker Reservoir. Those Barker and Cypress, the Barker and the Attucks reservoirs, dams, had to release some water basically due to all the flooding situation to control the flooding, and as a result, you're seeing all of this. Just take a look. Apartments completely underwater here. And this is Trey. He is from Houston, and you guys came out today wanting to help. What made you come out?
Just seeing all the families that need help, and you know how devastating these flooded waters are, and there's so many people going without right now and need help. But at the same time, it's heartwarming to see all these Houstonians and people from all over, you know, different states and cities coming together to help these people out. You know, I mean, we've rescued several people today, pets. You know, I know there's a lot of people at home that want to help, but they don't really know what to do. I can tell you a lot of these people have nothing, just what they've come out of their houses with. So, you know, maybe getting with the Salvation Army or something and donating whatever you can, you know, blankets, pets, you know, food for the pets, and just food in general. Anything would help. Anything's going to go a long way in this time right now.
And I do know that we have that listed on our website, by the way, and our app if you want to see how to donate. I know the Red Cross is one resource as well, but that's so true. That just the need that you see these people carrying out just bags, and that's all they have left, and that's it. And you know, coming out here, I know you said this is your first day out. What shocked you the most seeing all this?
You know, it's just shocking until you see it, you know, up close in person, how devastating it is, especially when, you know, you're helping, you know, little kids into the boat and stuff, and just seeing the looks on their faces, it's heartbreaking. It really is.
People are cold, scared, wet, and it actually is kind of cold out, which is somewhat surprising.
It is a bit chilly. You good?
Is he coming down? Does he need it? Oh, it looks like somebody may be calling us to go over.
You good?
You're good? Okay, be careful. Be safe. So some people on the second stories, we've seen there's some people over there to your right, Charles, staying. Seen a lot of people on the second stories of these apartments deciding to stay. The National Guard has been in here as well, evacuating people out. But we've been going through the neighborhoods around here, and you know, some of this area was under mandatory evacuation. Some of it wasn't, and they still flooded. So I counted up about 90 neighborhoods between both of the reservoirs where there were evacuations, and but some of the neighborhoods that weren't told to evacuate still had some flooding that was unexpected. But again, it's just so much water that we're dealing with here, and that's really the issue. Looks like they're okay too. So I think this area looks to be, you good? Looks to be okay. But it looks like most of the people have been evacuated. Oh, it looks like there's somebody over there that's needing to maybe be evacuated. I'm not sure. But you know, some of the areas are higher than others. You know, we've seen some areas where the water is exceptionally high, and even several feet inside people's houses. And you can see here in this area, just looking at the tires, I mean, it's really probably mid-tire in this apartment complex, but already creeping into the house, and people are afraid that it's just going to go up from there, guys.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder, Marla, many of those vehicles may end up being a total loss after sitting in the water for several days. But we do want to kind of connect you with Travis once again, because he wants to make sure that all of us really understand the path of those dams being released and whether or not it affects certain neighborhoods. Travis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. So let me show you. This is a look at the Addicks Reservoir. To give you perspective, here's a map showing Harris County. This is on the west side of Harris County. This is the watershed that feeds into the Addicks Reservoir with several of these creeks: Horsepin Creek, Langham Creek, Bear Creek, South Maid Creek. All of this feeds into the earthen dam that runs right about here just north of I-10. What's happening where you are, Marla, is that there's actually water that's just filling in and backing up. The releases downstream are not causing the flooding that you're seeing. We're just seeing an unprecedented amount of water flow through the watershed, and as it bumps up into this giant pool of water that's being held back by this earthen dam, it is flooding neighborhoods and areas and streets that we've simply never seen flood before. Now, earlier in the day, Just a few hours ago, for the first time ever, the pool elevation hit 108 feet, and that's enough for some water to start making its way around the northern spillway. So this is the dam right here. Water is coming around this part, the northern part of the dam, is spilling out and working its way into the Buffalo Bayou, and some of it might be working into the White Oak Bayou watersheds. And according to what Jeff Lindner said earlier from the Harris County Flood Control District, is that this is not enough water at this point to cause significant flooding downstream, but it is relieving some of the pressure as it flows over and around. It's at 108 feet. I believe if it gets to 112 feet, we start to see some water around the southern spillway make its way down closer towards I-10. The top of the dam right here is around 118 feet, I believe. So we don't expect it to get that high. And with new rainfall forecasts for less rain in this part of the watershed, they've actually lowered the peak pool level to where they do not think it will go out of the second spillway, but they do expect it to get high enough, and it will continue to climb maybe to 110 feet, I believe, is what I last heard. So we'll still continue to see water spill down here, but it's going to be following natural channels and lower ground. So I know we've all probably seen images before of spillways going over, and you just see this chaotic rush of water, and it just takes out trees, and it's really scary. I don't think that's what's happening right here, according to what I was hearing from Jeff Lindner. I haven't seen any pictures of exactly what is going on, but I was very reassured by what he said earlier, that we're going to see most of this just go into the street drainage that's already in that area. But again, we're in an unprecedented territory, and as you've been saying, Mel, the unknowns, we tend to fear the unknown, and so we can make up all of these scenarios in our mind about what's happening. Let me show you the actual elevation. This is the top of the spillway, and it was a few hours ago, around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, that it finally hit that 108-foot elevation. Since then, it has climbed to 108.05, or actually, I think the last I checked, it was around 108.5 feet. So it's gone up about half a foot since then. So a little more water is spilling around the northern edge of the reservoir. Then we have Barker Reservoir, which is generally south of I-10 until you get back farther west. This is the upper reaches of Buffalo Bayou, and this one was built, if you've ever been to George Bush Park, that's the reservoir right there. It's underwater, the park is right now. This has also gotten to a level we've never seen before, and earlier it was expected to eventually get to the spillway. I don't know if it's gotten there yet because the sensor broke down, it got flooded out, and so it stopped at this 100-foot level. But at the rate that I was seeing it going, it looked like by about now we might see some of that spilling out of the Barker Reservoir spillway. But again, the spillways are designed to allow water to flow out to relieve pressure on the dam from the rising water. So right now, we believe that they are working as designed. Addicks Reservoir was finished in 1948. So most of the people that built it and designed it aren't even alive today. And we've never seen it get to this kind of a level before in the 69 years since. Now, this is a look at all of the different bayous and creeks across Harris County. We have seen some improvements on some of the watersheds. We're seeing lots of these green boxes indicating that we have seen the water go back into its bank. So hang on tight for those of you along Greens Bayou, Halls Bayou, Hunting Bayou. We're seeing upstream that the bayou has crested and that water is beginning to fall back within its bank. So it's coming your way eventually. Big problem spots will continue to be the Cypress Creek watershed. It has crested at I-45. I've been showing you how I-45 is shut down north of downtown Houston right up here with Cypress Creek. It has crested. I think by tomorrow, I-45 should be passable again based on the projection at that particular location. Clear Creek also experiencing very intense flooding from the overnight rains. We had about another foot of rain fall around Clear Creek and along Cedar Bayou. That's why we're seeing all that flooding this morning and this afternoon in Baytown and across the bayou into Mont Belvieu. We just haven't been able to get across the bayou to Mont Belvieu to show you what's going on. But believe me, we know what's going on there, and our prayers are with you as well. And so we have just seen greater than 500-year floods in these areas that are still flooding. Cypress Creek watershed, the Cedar Creek watershed, or rather Cedar Bayou, and then the Clear Creek watershed. It's hard to keep track of everything. There's just so much going on right now. And because of that, we also want to give you the website for this if you were seeking additional information around Houston and Harris County. All of those little icons I showed you is a different stream and rain gauge that is installed at these different spots. You can click or tap on it. It'll pull up information. It doesn't give you forecasts, but it will show you the level the water's been going to, if it's been going up, if it's crested, if it's going down, and you can also look at how much rain has fallen over the past however many hours you want to look at. So that's harriscountyfws.org, harriscountyfws.org. That's where you can go to look at the sensor that's closest to where you live and the watershed that you are most concerned about.
And Travis, you know, the problem seems to be since so many things are dovetailing and people are talking a lot about the dam release. They think, oh, the water around us is rising because of the dams being released, when in fact we're just looking at nonstop rain and record amounts of rain.
And honestly, some of that water is moving through places it's not supposed to. Normally when water falls in a watershed, it stays in that watershed. Cypress Creek, the watershed has gotten so much rain that some of that is spilling into the Addicks Reservoir watershed. And so we're seeing water take routes it just hasn't taken before since anyone around here has been alive.
It sounds like, though, Travis, at least if there's any type of good news, is that, you know, you are seeing some cresting that's going to happen over the next 12 to 24 hours, and we're also getting less rain.
Right.
So at some point, we're hoping we're getting on the backside of this storm.
There's a distinction to make between the creeks and bayous over Harris County and then all the surrounding rivers. The creeks and bayous have much smaller watersheds. They don't extend very far away from the Gulf, so those drain rather quickly and then we're done. The rivers, though, cover massive tracts of land. They've taken on massive volumes of water. Those are going to take weeks instead of days to clear out, so we still have a lot of flooding ahead of us. I know folks in Brazoria County have been expressing concern about after the big Brazos flood last year, they all flooded out. You're probably going to flood again, and we're going to see more flood than we did last time because we're expecting historic crests upstream, and all that water is going to flow downstream and eventually get into the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it's just a reminder that we really are a city in an area with lots of bodies of water.
We are.
We kind of forget about until they begin to crest, until they begin to
basically swampland, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks a lot, Travis. That helped a lot.
All right, let's head out far to the west side right now. We've got Eyewitness News reporter Stephen Romo in the Cinco Ranch area. We've seen rescues taking place already there. And Stephen, last time we spoke with you, you were in the Canyon Gate neighborhood. How's it looking right now?
Hey guys, we keep seeing these evacuations here. There's another group of people coming right now. We're in a boat. These guys came from Austin with their boat. They said there's nothing going on in Austin, so they decided to come out here and help. We spoke to these couple just a moment ago. You said you put your call in at 5 o'clock last night?
Correct.
What is it like to see all these volunteers come out?
That's wonderful. Fantastic.
And like so many people, you guys have a dog here with you. How's he holding up?
He's very scared. He's old, and he's not taking it so well.
Yeah,
he's very glad to be out of the upstairs because he wouldn't go out at all. So he's glad to be out.
So you guys, you came, you put a call in last night at 5 o'clock to get people out here to come pick you up. Were you expecting some rescue official personnel? Or these guys are just a group of guys from Austin. What's it like to see these people volunteering?
Well, it's fabulous. We've had so many friends getting hold of their friends, and just, you know, everybody was giving us good information, and it was just great.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. Do you guys know where you're headed now?
To our daughter's house.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So many people don't have a place to go, so it's really great that you guys have a place to go. What about your neighbors? Can you tell us what's the condition out there?
Well, most of them, like us, have water in the house. Most of them have already left, especially the ones with the one-story house. They left the day before yesterday or yesterday, so they were the first ones out for obvious reasons. We could go upstairs. We have about a foot in our house. Others have less, some have more.
Wow, it's incredible to have somewhere to go in this situation instead of just being on one floor. Guys, I want to show you what's happening now. These guys are pushing the boat along. This is sort of a relay system. There's a truck that carries people to the point where we've just picked up these evacuees. Then we're heading out. They're pushing the boat because it's not deep enough here to start the motor. And then they'll make it, I don't know if you can see, there's a corner. This corner of people where you see that huge crowd, that is not just evacuees. The majority of those people are volunteers that have come here. They're waiting to receive these people, take them in, figure out if they need medical care, figure out if they need food or water, or if they need a place to stay. And they're also pulling the boats in as they come to them. Obviously, this is not, this is just a makeshift boat ramp that they're using to get people out of the water. So they're there to help physically pull them in as well. There are so many volunteers. It's one of the bright spots, one of the encouraging things to see out here, along with all these boats that we've seen come in from all over. These people carrying just the bags that they can to make it through while they find a temporary place to stay. We're about to disembark this boat and go and talk to some of the people who have already taken shelter nearby, and we'll bring you their stories in the next little bit, guys.
And in the meantime, we also saw that huge truck over there, Stephen, that has, it looks like the entire back is filled with people. Are those mostly evacuees trying to get to that spot?
Yes, that's exactly right. Those are the people that are taking that truck. They make it here to this point where we pick people up. You see there's all types of vehicles that have been involved. There's a tractor that you see right there now just to get the people to this point. That's part of the relay system that they're using to get people to hopscotch over from their homes to some dry land.
I know that Eric was interested in asking the couple you spoke to just a moment ago just how fast the water rose in their homes. How quickly did they know they needed to get out?
Yes, I've talked to several people who have gotten out. They said it's just been in the past 12 to 18 hours last night. Most of them were saying, like the couple I just spoke with, that it started when they realized they needed to get out yesterday afternoon into the evening, and then they put calls into various organizations to eventually make their way to get a rescue like they did today.
All right. Well, what a scene right there. At least people are getting out, and so far everybody in the neighborhood's able to find some higher, drier ground. Stephen Romo there in the Cinco Ranch area where, like any other part of Houston right now, is seeing flooded homes and rescues taking place via boat and huge trucks right there. Stephen, thank you for the live updates. We've also got meteorologist David Tillman, who's out in the field right now. He likes to be out in the field sometimes, whether it's chasing a storm, and right now he's basically keeping tabs on the Brazos River because that is a huge area of concern. We've heard some of the readings from Travis already. What's the latest from you, David?
And as tall as David is, at this point, he looks dwarfed by the water.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this is not the actual Brazos River. This water here at the intersection of Highway 90A and the Grand Parkway came about because of that 30-plus inches of rain that we've gotten over the last several days. So you can see we've got a tremendous amount of rain completely covering this underpass here. Isn't it ironic that this sign is here that says road may flood? Boy, that's the understatement of the year. If we spin all the way around here and look in this particular direction, you can see they've got some barricades set up here designed to help to keep that water from making it any farther into the New Territory neighborhood. They even put some dirt and sand up there to keep that from happening as well. Swinging back around this way, a couple of interesting things that we're seeing here. Number one, there's the sign that says Richmond and Rosenberg, so that kind of gives you an idea about how tall this water is. There's the street signs that basically say East Highway 90 alternate and West Highway 90 alternate there. Notice how that stoplight is blinking, having problems there because it's completely underwater. And if you look in the far distance there, if you want to know how deep this water is, it is sitting at 16 feet 6 inches right now. It hasn't really moved all that much in the time that we've been out here, and that has been about 30 minutes. Now, I do want to say one more thing about this, and that is, in theory, the Brazos River, which is about, a mile that way and then a mile that way, if it does reach this crest of 59 feet, it could start to go across Highway 90 and then make it into this field across the way here and then dump into this area right here. So you could tell if we get another 3 or 4 feet of water on top of what's here right now, that could really cause some problems potentially in the neighborhood behind me, and that is the reason why there's a mandatory evacuation for this area.
That is incredible, especially when you see that street sign and you realize how high up that water is. Now, Travis is saying 57.5, is that right?
The new update, they the crest about a foot and a half. 59 to 57.5. It's still record, but that's at least a ray of hope that maybe it won't be as catastrophic as it could otherwise be.
Hey, David, we did also...
I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people that live in this area, and I can't tell you how glad I am to hear that it's 57 instead of 59 now, Travis. I mean, that's great news.
And David, we know that you're right there in the New Territory area, and we saw those kind of makeshift berms that have been put up. Now, to your left, is that where a neighborhood is as well, or is it just farther north of you?
The neighborhood is actually in this direction here. If you look across the road there, you can kind of sort of see that little flower bed over there. So that's one of the many decorative flower beds in the background there that we have in this neighborhood right here.
All right, David. Thanks a lot. We're going to get right now to a breaking news press conference, and that is taking at the George R. Brown Convention Center, where we know at least 5,000 cots have been put up. Let's listen in.
Yeah, they're saying about 9,000. And this is Darian Ward, the mayor's spokesperson. McCaslin, his press secretary. She may be about to start the meeting.
Right. You see, we have a plethora of folks here. It has been going very smoothly. I'm Darian Ward. I'm with the mayor's office, press secretary. We're going to go down, make some announcements, and then we're going to open it up to questions, okay? And Tom McCaslin is in charge of the George R. Brown for us, for the mayor's office.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom McCaslin. The last name is spelled M-C-C-A-S-L-A-N-D. I'm the Director of Housing and Community Development for the City of Houston, and I am also the Incident Commander for the City of Houston for the George R. Brown. I talked to many of you 6:30 this morning, very briefly. Pretty much the update is that things continue to run smoothly here. We have approximately 9,000 people sheltering in place here at the George R. Brown. We have been feeding them on a regular schedule. Things have gone very smoothly in terms of crowd control, and our doors remain open. I want to emphasize that at no point have we closed the doors here. We are sheltering people with pets. We are sheltering people with urgent medical emergencies, and we are continuing to shelter people as they come in. For a few hours last night, we had other shelters with cots that were available, and we did divert a few buses to those shelters that had capacity. We are now back to bringing in folks here as they are needed. So at no point has the city been out of shelter space, and we are available to handle that. In the meantime, we are also setting up another shelter in the close to here that should be open by this afternoon to help relieve pressure from this facility as we have additional evacuees that are rescued from the high water situations. So we'll be prepared. The City of Houston, the state of Texas, and the national government is coordinated to make sure that the people here in Houston, the Harris County region, remain safe and have safe places to shelter. Very quickly, in terms of needs here, we are not taking any more clothing donations here, and we are not taking any foods that have not been prepared by a commercial kitchen. If you have non-perishable foods, or if you have foods prepared by a commercial kitchen, we do want to hear from you, but otherwise we are not at capacity to take any other foods. In terms of other donations that we would love to have here, basic toiletries, simple medical supplies, blankets and towels we still have needs of, wheelchairs, we are still looking for wheelchairs and pillows. Of course, any individually packaged non-perishable foods we can take as well. And then children's donations that are clearly marked. We are standing up a children's facility with children's programming, and we could use those donations as well. All donations need to be delivered to the loading dock B at the back of the George R. Brown, close to 59. We are currently updating our changing needs on social media, and you can go to georgebrown.cc.org as the location for the website, and you can find me on Facebook at Tom McCaslin, at Tom MCCASLAND, and we are keeping all the Facebook needs updated there for the George R. Brown location. One last thing I will say, while we do have a lot of resources coming here, we are closely coordinated with all the shelter activities throughout the City of Houston and Harris County to make sure that resources that we have here that need to be deployed elsewhere are being deployed. This is a fully coordinated effort. We have unified command here over the shelter, and I'll be able to answer questions that you may have after we have a few more speakers. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. David Purse. That's spelled P as in Peter, E-R-S-S-E. And I am the EMS Medical Director and the Public Health Authority for the City of Houston. And I'm overseeing the medical operations here inside the George R. Brown Medical Center, or George R. Brown Convention Center. Things are going smooth. As Tom pointed out, we have a large number of people here. A lot of folks have medical needs. Fortunately, they're mostly moderate to minor medical needs. We have had some folks who were fairly ill, predominantly because they were out of their medications. We've been working with the hospitals to try to get the folks to the hospitals, and at the same time, we're trying to protect the hospitals. You have to remember the hospitals are dealing with this as well. So a lot of hospitals are faced with personnel, doctors, nurses, technicians, and others who've been in the hospital since this all started. They've been unable to get to their homes. Also, hospitals have folks in there who are healthy enough to be discharged, but they don't have a way to get home. So we do have some congestion issues at the hospital. So we're trying to support them as best we can by handling as much of the medical needs here on location. But the clinic is up and running. It's robust. We've got great care being delivered to folks, and we've had very few problems, and we anticipate that will continue. Just this afternoon, we have 2 federal DMATs. Those are disaster medical assistance teams that have arrived, and they are setting up as we speak to help us, and we're expanding the footprint of the medical support. So I feel confident in saying that the people that are here in the George R. Brown have great medical care being provided to them. And I'll be available with questions when we're done. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mary Jane Mudd with the American Red Cross, and we have been incredibly grateful for the support of our city partners and our volunteers. In fact, we've had more than 700 volunteers come in from around the country to help with this disaster and to do what they can to make people comfortable and to make people manage what they can during such a devastating time. It's a time of humanity. You're seeing the best, and you're seeing some challenges, but we are being resilient. We also have supplies that are coming in. We had always planned on bringing in a lot of supplies, food and cots and pillows for up to 34,000 people. That doesn't mean we'll need all that here. It's for the Texas Gulf Coast, but we are doing that. And so we're very appreciative that there are restaurants, commercial kitchens that have been bringing in food to help us with that situation. And as others have said before me, there will be another shelter. It is our focus right now to keep people safe, get them off the street when it's pouring, help their children find warmth and comfort. Everybody is coming together to put blankets around young mothers with kids and grandparents and, everybody. It is incredible. Red Crossers and emergency responders. So we have to keep doing that. It is kind of tough right now because so many people are coming in, but there is a plan, as you're hearing, and we'll continue to be there for the long haul.
I'm Sylvia Garcia, State Senator, District 6, and I'm just here, number one, as a state senator concerned about my area, but also as a volunteer here at the George R. Brown Convention Center. I've been working at the command center doing some troubleshooting. I think it's important that we continue to listen to our local officials and follow their advice and follow their instruction. Now, for some of my friends in Spanish, aquí estoy su servidora Silvia García, la senadora estatal. Queremos decirles que las puertas están abiertas aquí en el George R. Brown para recibir gente que necesita ayuda. No tengan ningún miedo que van a preguntar alguna cuestión acerca de su ciudadana o no. Estamos recibiendo a todos. No hay ninguna pregunta de si usted es inmigrante o no. Así es que, por favor, si necesitan ayuda, necesitan venir aquí o llamen a 311-311 si viven en Houston, y si no viven en Houston, entonces 211-211. Así es muy importante otra vez que las puertas están abiertas. Esta es una cosa muy urgente, esta crisis, y ya sabemos que todos somos hijos de Dios. Así es que está la ciudad de Houston aquí, el alcalde les quiere asegurar que todos, por favor, si necesitan ayuda, se puede pasar.
All right, we have been listening now to the press conference here. A number of different officials with the city of Houston talking about this shelter, which just continues to grow by leaps and bounds. They expected 1,000, and now it's up to well over 9,000. And what we've heard most immediately, as the mayor promised, is they are setting up a separate shelter focusing on families primarily. They want to make sure everybody is safe. And then the woman with the American Red Cross bringing in 30,000 pillows and blankets, which just begins to give you some idea of the scope. And there are donations they are looking for. We have a full list of them, so you might continue to go to our website at abc13.com or our Facebook page. But they have an immediate need for wheelchairs and pillows, which is what we were hearing.
A lot of people are being rescued by boat or even by vehicle. They can't oftentimes fit that wheelchair into the boat or the vehicle, so they're having to leave it behind, hence them making a call out for wheelchairs to be donated if that can be done.
Yeah, so if you have some used wheelchairs or have access to them, believe it or not, that is a giant need down there.
All right, we also want to go now to Courtney Fisher. She's been monitoring a rescue situation out on the kind of east side of town off Highway 90 and John Ralston Road right there. That's what we saw earlier, that man who was clinging to that sign.
Right.
We saw several helicopters coming in along with the Centerpoint crew. Let's go to Courtney Fisher now, because the word is that he was finally rescued, or someone was rescued nearby. Courtney, do we have her right now?
You know, and we've been getting a lot on social media about this, Courtney. Everybody keeps asking me, what happened to the two guys who jumped in the water? So we can't wait to hear the end of this story.
Yeah, you know, there's so much news. I know you had to break away, but when you did, what played out in front of our eyes was incredible. We were just down there. Just want to bring you back to that moment when all of this happened. In fact, that Black Hawk that was in the area is still here. They are still circling, looking for other people out here, no doubt, who need to be saved. But I want to tell you exactly what happened to those two guys. They are okay, which is awesome.
Great.
It was unbelievable. We were out there and we watched the Coast Guard. I want to show you this video. Excuse me, not the Coast Guard. This is the National Guard, and two guys lowered down right in front of us. I gotta say, about 100 yards from us. I hope you're looking at the video right now. But it happened just in front of us. They lowered down. I went over and talked to them. What happened? They said, remember when they were dangling around the power lines? You're exactly right. It was way too windy over there. They could not get close to those guys, so they had to move back. They dropped. But listen to this. This is the incredible part. People who were watching ABC 13 saw us saying, hey, there's a guy trapped. Hey, we don't know what's going to happen to him. They came out with a boat the same time that the National Guard lowered down. So before the National Guard could even get to these two guys, one clinging to a sign, one clinging to the top of that truck, the guys, the Good Samaritans in a boat, went over to them and they pulled them off the sign and off of that truck. Those two guys didn't even know each other. The one who was clinging to the truck went in to save the other person, a complete stranger. I talked to both of them right after this all happened. Check this out, watch.
I heard somebody yelling for help, and I barely saw his hand. So
he was holding the sign when you heard him.
He was holding on to that white sign down there. He's been there since yesterday afternoon.
Holding the sign for that long?
Yeah.
So like 24 hours?
And I had my phone in the bag, and I called my wife. He's in the back right here. There he is.
Are you okay? You're okay?
Yeah.
You were holding on a long time.
Put the shirt on.
It's okay?
Yes. Put the shirt on.
Oh my gosh. What do you say?
I said put the shirt. I give him the shirt.
Oh my God. You're Romanian. How long have you lived in Houston?
Yesterday evening.
You've been holding on since yesterday?
Yes.
Were you in the truck?
No, in storage.
What happened? Yeah.
My truck is dead.
That's your truck?
Yes.
The big truck?
The big truck.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yes.
Thank you for talking for us. Go get warm. Get something to eat. Thank you. Okay, so tell me again, sir. I just want to double check. Okay, so you heard. You've been holding on since yesterday.
Yes.
Were you in the truck?
No, in storage.
What happened? Yeah.
My truck is dead.
That's your truck?
Yes.
The big truck?
The big truck.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yes.
The big truck?
The big truck.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yes.
Thank you for talking for us. Go get warm. Get something to eat. Thank you. Okay, so tell me again, sir. I just want to double check. Okay, so you heard this morning. How long ago?
I don't know. Maybe 2 hours ago? I guess maybe.
So you've been out there yourself. Yeah. Oh, hi guys. Sorry, I didn't know we were back out live. So I don't know if you caught that, but that guy who I talked to second was the man who went in after the first guy. Okay, so they didn't know each other. That first guy was Romanian. He hadn't lived in Houston very long. He was holding on to that sign since yesterday, about 24 hours, waiting for help. Obviously, that current was incredible. Today, this other man who was just checking on a business, he was actually along these train tracks right here. He went to check on his business and he heard that person yelling from the sign, tried to keep him calm, went over and got swept away himself in the current. So he just sat on that truck, and that's when the National Guard lowered down. But again, other people saw what was going on, saw it play out on live TV, which we've heard over and over again happening this whole time. They said, one of the guys said, "That's my uncle," in this video. And so they came over with a boat and they pulled those guys to safety. It was unbelievable to watch it play out. We had some issues out here with our video because you can imagine we have been in the water so much, so our equipment froze up. You couldn't see it play out. We have it all though, and we're gonna make sure we get a clip of that online. I know it's a lot. You probably are confused what exactly happened because there are so many players in this, but I don't know if you can still hear in the distance, but National Guard has been circling. We at one time saw 2 or 3 helicopters out here. Remember, we're near Tidwell, where all those people are still stuck, where Ted was yesterday. You can see that a couple houses out here, how high the water is. There are still so many people who need help, and so National Guard has been circling out here. But it was just incredible. I've never seen guys lowered from a helicopter about 100 yards from us. It was unbelievable.
Well, Courtney, and my jaw is just on the floor as I listen to this story. First of all, I cannot believe that guy was hanging on since last night, since yesterday evening, and that he has such a big smile on his face as though it was nothing. But then the second guy, was that the person we saw basically swimming in front of the Center Point truck? Was that who was there when we saw a second person in the water?
Yes, and he said that when he heard that guy yelling a few hours ago, he kept trying to communicate and keep him calm. But you know, we've got so many different backgrounds and nationalities here in Houston. That guy was Romanian. They couldn't communicate, yes. So he was just kept trying to keep him calm. But this man who was clinging onto that sign for 24 hours, overnight, cold, he was sick of it. He wanted to get out, so he kept trying to swim. This other stranger is telling him, don't do it. And then they both found themselves in a tough situation. And then, there was nobody. I want you to look around and see how many cars. When we got here, when someone had called us over and said, a guy is on the sign, there was no one here.
Oh,
and then after that, look at all these people who showed up. It's just so awesome. I'm so glad that we can obviously be able to, broadcast this live, and people are watching and they want to help. We say it so many times, but that's why those guys in a boat were out here, and they did it together, teamwork. It was incredible.
Well, somehow I have a feeling they are now all BFFs after a situation like that. But so the boaters were the ones who finally pulled both of those guys in because they were so exhausted from trying to swim and hang on to signs. Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah,
I know.
Exactly, Melanie. And I just want to mention that guy, the second guy who tried to help, he's been rescuing people. He lost everything in his house.
Oh,
so this is the second. He said he was picked up and saved by his other family members yesterday. Then this happened today. I mean, just what people are going through right now. I just said, can you even believe this? Like, we kind of had that moment of, what is happening? And he just said, I guess, I didn't really think about it. It's kind of life right now. Like, it's just, it's been a tough 48 hours for that man.
Yeah, boy, we are so glad, first of all, that we heard the end of the movie here, because I think we were all waiting to find out what happened, but that everybody was okay, including the helicopter pilot and the man who came down in the helicopter, because, as you said, they were so close to those power lines. It looked absolutely terrifying, and I think we were all worried about him getting twisted up in the power lines. But wow, what
it's an amazing story, right? One of many around the Houston area.
Right, that is something else. Thank you so much, Courtney, and I guess the Center Point guys were able to go on and do their work too, but we appreciate it.
Yeah. And now we also want to get an update on the cause of all of this, which is Harvey at this point, because I know Travis has some new forecasts for us to look at.
Well, Harvey is starting to move and accelerate off to the north and northeast, and that's good. We need to get the rains away as quickly as we can. We've already had more than we can handle, with most watersheds hitting over 500-year floodplain levels in many of our local spots here in southeast Texas. This is where Harvey was on Sunday, or rather on Saturday, and since then, Sunday, Monday, here's Tuesday, only moved about 200 miles. It's been crawling along at 2 to 3 miles per hour for the past few days, and now beginning to accelerate. In the last position update, a little more of a northward motion, but should resume a more northeasterly motion as it heads towards the upper Texas coastline and southwestern Louisiana. Now, we are seeing a burst of very heavy thunderstorms on the northern part of Harvey, and so we'll have to watch that very carefully. Those of you along the Bolivar Peninsula into Chambers and Jefferson counties, Liberty counties, get ready. This heavy rain is moving your way. We'll see how much of it can spread back in toward Houston and mainland Galveston County and Galveston Island, but it does look like the heaviest rains are going to be falling to the east of Galveston and Trinity Bay. So this is the new update from the National Hurricane Center. They now have the movement to the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. So when it was the update at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was still 3 miles per hour. At 10 a.m., they put the update as 5 miles per hour, and now it's moving at 8 miles per hour. So it is beginning to move. It's also causing some really gusty winds. So we expect that Harvey's circulation will continue to move off in a north-northeasterly direction, and based on the latest jump northward, it might make landfall on the Texas side of the state border with Louisiana, but it should be accelerating on out of here. Now, we are seeing some pretty brisk winds around the backside of that circulation. Galveston Island, Skulls just picked up a wind gust of 52 miles per hour. Farther inland, we're seeing winds still gusting up in that 30 to 35 mile per hour range, with the wind coming in today out of the north on the backside of the circulation. So again, we're looking at 5 to 10 additional inches of rain, maybe even more than that. So far, we've already seen in this general region 6, 9, 10, almost 12 inches of rain as you get over toward Beaumont. So this is going to be the swath of heaviest rainfall, which should be off to the east of Houston. We could see about a 3 or 4 inch accumulation in the far eastern part of the county into western Chambers County, and then the farther west you go, the quicker that those rain accumulations will taper off. Here's another look at what we're expecting for Wednesday. Less than an inch of rain. In fact, it just got a new update, it looks like, from the Weather Prediction Center. So by now they are pushing the heavier rains farther off to the east, northeast a little bit quicker. I'm going to have to analyze this and see what timestamps they're using here, but it does look like Harvey is making that acceleration. And then look at this. By Thursday, forget that 1 to 2 inches. We're done with the rains, at least for a while. But keep in mind, like some folks experienced overnight last night, they went to bed, the rain had stopped, they thought we're in the clear. That water is running down different watersheds, in some cases charting unprecedented territory. And as it works its way towards the Gulf of Mexico, especially on the river watersheds, that's where we're going to see new places flood that perhaps have never flooded before or have recently flooded in the past. Because the waterways that roll through most of Houston, Harris County don't extend very far inland, they are starting to drain out. Exceptions would be Cypress Creek is still very swollen, but it has crested at I-45 and starting to drop. And we got all this water being held back by the Barker and Addicks reservoirs. So that's going to be an issue for several months to come as it drains its way slowly out through Buffalo Bayou. And we have hit the spillway on the Addicks reservoir and should be close to that right now on the Barker. In fact, we're going to get an update in about 10 minutes. We're supposed to have a press conference with an update on the Addicks and Barker reservoirs. So hang on for that for 10 minutes from now if that's of concern to you. And then we're also going to see the Clear Creek is still very swollen, but it is showing some signs that upstream it has crested. So we're going to see some improvements here, I think.